Good morning, class 12th. Welcome to your English class. Let's start our class with a good note on a very positive vibration and continue the reading of the start to the last lesson. I am really hoping that you are reading line by line as I'm doing with you all, and we are not even missing any single thing, right? Because it's very important to have a proper and a thorough reading. That is why we are doing it word by word. So let's continue. In the previous class, we have discussed about the procrastination thing. Then we discussed about it how M. Hamel discussed about importance of French language. True. And then little Franz mentioned that how easily he understood each and everything. Might be teacher was their teacher taught him in a very in a more patient level, or he was able to understand in a more better manner. So let's understand what happened next. So it says, after the grammar, we had a lesson in writing. So grammar class for the French language happened. Now it was a writing class. That day, M. Hamel had new copies for us. For written in a beautiful round hand, France, Alsace, France, Alsace. So he was living in the Alsace district. They looked like little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom, hung from the rod at the top of a desk. You ought to have seen how everyone set to work and how quiet it was. Now he said that after the grammar lesson, there was a writing class, and then M. Hamel he distributed the sheets, the new copies where it was written France Alsace. It was in a very beautiful handwriting, and the classroom was very quiet. It was a very silent mode there. The only sound which was heard there, it was the scratching of the pens over the pen underline. So the only sound which was heard in that particular classroom was that, see, when you write it on the paper, so the scratching, that sound was only audible, otherwise the atmosphere was totally silent. Once some beetles flew in, but nobody paid any attention to them, not even the littlest ones, who worked right on tracing their fish hooks, as if that was French too. On the roof their pigeons cooed very low, and I thought to myself, will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? Now it's very important line here. Now first he mentioned when they were writing, when the beetles entered, nobody paid attention to it. Nobody even paid attention to that thing here. So nobody paid attention to anything. So immediately at that time, little Franz he heard the pigeons. They were there. The pigeons they were at the roof and they were making the sound. They were cooing at that time. So although little Franz was also busy, but a thought came into his mind: will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? So this is very important line. A question can come on this. So what he's trying to say that this pigeon, they are having their inherent trait, their basic trait is of cooing. So we the French people, we are having the French language is our right, the birthright we can say. So how can the external atmosphere, the outside surroundings can enforce the things on us that we need to leave our basic things and we need to adapt something else. So he was basically trying to understand that when Germans are going to rule on us, so will they pressurize even the pigeons? Will they tell them that they need to stop cooing and they need to adapt themselves into the German language only? So basically he was trying to connect that the thing which is connected to us from our which is inherited into us when we were born actually. So how can any outsider can come and tell us to change our basic thing? As pigeons basic thing is to coo, and for French people French is there. So he was connecting this thing, that how the external forces can make us change the things actually. So he was connecting it in that manner. He was very upset, he was very disappointed actually. Whenever I looked up from my writing, I saw M. Hamel sitting motionless in his chair and gazing first at one thing, then at another, as if he wanted to fix it in mind just how everything looked in that little schoolroom. Now, he said that when he was busy in writing and whenever he was looking up, see, it happens with us also, right? Even with you. When you're writing something and obviously for a second or so, you try to look somewhere else also. So little Franz, he started looking some as soon as he was writing, and whenever he was looking up, he noticed that M. Hamel, he was sitting there motionless, means no motion, no activity he was doing, but he was gazing, he was staring at each and everything which he can look from there. Fancy. For 40 years, you need to remember this, for 40 years, he had been there in the same place with his garden outside the window and his class